Hey, what's up everyone? This is Wesker412 and making this video because it seems like a lot of people are having trouble with the Medal of Honor Heroes 2 online multiplayer. And it's a real shame because it's a really great game, and I hate to think people are discouraged because they don't really understand how it's supposed to be played and therefore get frustrated. So these are just some general tips for the game and for basically any Wii first-person shooter in general, but there are also plenty of advanced techniques that pretty much apply just to this game. So I'm just going to start a room that I don't want anyone to join. So let's do this, and if anyone guesses that password, they're insane, so I'll let them join if they do. The first thing you're going to want to change is the controls, and the default controls really aren't that bad, but there's a lot to be desired because I feel like they designed it more for the single player and more for maybe a beginning player, but they give you the option to change it however you like, and you should really take full advantage of that because the controls they give you are definitely decent, but they aren't the best in my opinion for the multiplayer. Well, first off, I'm going to reset to the default controls and then change everything needs to be changed and explain why. Reload screen freeze off, not even sure why it's in the game. I'll get to dead zone in a second, but look speeds are very important. Horizontal look speed should be all the way up. That's like the first thing you should do because, I mean, if this is a little too fast for you, you could turn it down, but I would recommend having it all the way up. But wherever they started at down here is way too low. It's not very applicable for the online. It's too slow. Max look up and down, this really doesn't matter at all. I usually have it around halfway just so that if for some reason I look at the ceiling or the floor, it doesn't take me 10 minutes to look back up again. Vertical look speed, I keep that around halfway, and I would have it all the way up, but I don't, and I'll explain why. The sensitivity, I put that all the way at the bottom just because I like it to be as smooth as possible, and I'd rather let the turning, the look speed, do most of the aiming for me instead of having a very sensitive crosshair. And this dead zone is probably the most important thing you need to change. Now the one they give you, it's alright. It's pretty small, which is a good thing because it's better if the controls are sort of tighter and more responsive if you want to be playing a really fast-paced game like this. But I make mine as small as possible, except that I make it as thin as possible, but I also make it stretch all the way to the top and bottom of the screen, and I'll explain why in a moment. And as far as I know, that is really all I ever change. I turn off the music, but I guess that's just me. Accept changes. So you can already notice that it'll take some getting used to at first. You're going to be turning a lot faster, and you only have to move the crosshair a little bit away from the center of the screen to start turning, and start turning at a considerable speed. You just have to be like, you don't need to move that far, which is a good thing in my opinion. Now, the reason why I made it as tall as possible is so that when you're playing the game, usually you'd shoot people when your crosshair's in the middle of the screen, like this. And the reason why that's not so great is, first of all, there's recoil, which pushes your character upward and makes them look upward, and therefore you have to keep moving the crosshair down while you're shooting. And that's going to be true for pretty much any dead zone or control setting that you use. It's just part of the game. But the reason why it's particularly annoying is because you can't see very well because of the muzzle flash from your gun. And I'm talking specifically about the Thompson and MP40 because most other guns aren't too bad in that respect. But it really hinders your vision, and especially in a game where you have to be really accurate, and you can't just shoot when the crosshair turns red. You really have to aim at their head. It's very important. But a reason why I make it so that you can move all the way up or down without actually turning your camera is so that I can position my crosshair so that I'm looking at people that I want to be shooting when the crosshair is at the top of the screen, or at least near the top of the screen. What that does is it allows for the crosshair to be out of the way of the muzzle flash from the gun, so you have a really clear view of what's going on in your crosshair, and you're not sort of like, it's not being diluted by all that muzzle flash like it normally would be. One other reason is that when you're looking up or down, the character model's head is literally looking up or down. So the further down you're looking, the harder it is to get sniped in the head, shot in the head, especially from behind. And it's just a good habit to have. And if you try out these control settings and you really don't like them and you need to change them back, I would at least recommend looking down closer towards the ground when you're not fighting someone, just in general when you're moving around, because it really helps if someone sneaks up on you. They're usually not going to finish you off with one clip or with one shot, whatever the case being, and it'll give you time, especially with the fast turning speed, to turn around and return the favor. So a few general things to know now that I've got that covered is don't aim down this scope thing like ever. Obviously, if you're using a gun like the carabiner or a sniper rifle, that's a little bit different. But pretty much, unless you're trying to shoot a sniper with one of these guns, I would not recommend using it at all, because it really makes pretty much no difference in accuracy whatsoever. It just reduces the recoil, zooms in a little bit better, but the worst part is, again, the muzzle flash just completely distorts everything you're seeing. So the only way it's truly effective is in little bursts, but it's much better just to shoot from your hip. And the other main thing to know is that you have to aim at people's heads, and this is probably the most important thing to not get killed in this game, because if you don't shoot them in the head, it's going to seem like it takes 1,000,000 bullets to kill someone, and I think that might be the actual figure, like the number of bullets it takes to kill someone if you don't shoot them in the head, because it's just ridiculous, and you could keep unloading bullets into them all day, and they just won't die. I think you regain health in this game faster than you can lose it by getting shot on anywhere but your head. It's pretty ridiculous, but that's how it is. So make sure you aim for the head. It is very important, and I feel like that's the one thing that a lot of people who are beginners who are playing this game online struggle with, is that they don't know that aiming for the head is so important, and they just try and hit someone at all, and that's really not what you should be doing. The other thing is, the way that this online is set up, you sort of have to aim ahead of your target. So let's say they're running across these sewers, from over here to there. I don't want to aim right at their head as they're moving across. I want to aim slightly ahead of it, right in front of where they're walking, and because there's a tiny bit of lag in between, like the time when you shoot the gun and the time it registers to actually hitting someone that you're playing with. And this doesn't go for just if they're like running side to side. If they're like running down a ramp, you have to sort of